Homefront the Revolution coming out of Gamescom with a demo that showed off a lot of the sort of a glimpse of the open world stuff and a sweet motorcycle. Here to talk about that game, Aaron Sampson and Mike Mahardy. Hi, guys.
How's it going?
Hey.
Oh, it's going good. Pretty entertaining press conference. There were some decent games on show, nothing to blow you away, but I was personally interested in Homefront the Revolution. I kind of like that game a bunch, even though it ended, I don't know, 2/3 of the way. It ended way too early.
Yeah, they just kind of got to the Golden Gate Bridge and they're like, "Yay, we won everything."
Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Got the bridge. The city, no, don't worry about it. We'll talk about that later. Homefront the Revolution, obviously switching coasts and advancing the timeline a little bit. Now you're in Philadelphia. Now the Korean People's Army is not invading. They are occupying full on across the United States. And this demo started. We're getting a look now at the sort of motorcycle driving here's the question I'm asking. How big is this world that this person is driving through? Could you take a left and a right and drive off into some direction with this motorcycle, or is it like basically you got to go this way?
Yeah, I was kind of looking through this footage. It seems like, at least in this mission, they're channeling in a large arena. Mm-hmm. It looked like the map did have boundaries, but when I was reading up on Homefront the Revolution, it seems like they're going more the Far Cry 4 route. You have main missions, and then you can go on these side quests and liberate strike points, essentially. And then, the map does that reveal, and some of the things that it showed, there was an ammo cache, there was a KPA stronghold. So, yeah, really channeling that open world vibe of, like, the Far Cry series.
Yeah, like the sort of outpost attacks in Far Cry. You sort of work your way in and pick them off and take them down. But in this one, it seems like you work your way in to get a foothold. You do that kind of hacking thing real quick, and then a bunch of new missions open up in the area, allowing you to it says, I think, establish a presence. Because, like, guerrilla warfare is what this game's all about, and that's always a tricky one with a first-person shooter, because you want to be the guy who's just shooting everyone in a first-person shooter. But here it seems, and you certainly are in this one, but there's crafting, there's hacking. It seems like there's a little bit more in play. It's
interesting. One of the other things that we just saw there was also weapon hot swapping, like getting scopes and attachments on and off of your weapon. Mm-hmm. I know that Crytek had a little bit of a hand in this game, and I previously saw that in their Warface games. So I wonder if that.
Yeah, I think Crysis had it a little bit too.
Yeah,
but yeah, totally. I think that they, I was watching our E3 demo from 2014 actually, and they were saying, it's in our DNA a little bit. Of course, we're going to do this weapon customization stuff. So yeah, that was definitely on display here with the, I'm just going to put on a new scope. I've got that in my pocket.
That was in Modern Warfare 3, if I recall correctly, as well. That was like a big driving force of Modern Warfare 3 that said, look, you can do this on the go. And that was a huge selling point, I guess.
Yeah.
That would be really cool if this ends up in their multiplayer. They just hinted at their multiplayer, and they said something about you being able to team up with your friends in a faction or crew, which hopefully is more than just you friending up with somebody. I hope that there's a little bit more of a story there.
Are you thinking more of something like along the lines of The Division, maybe, where you've got sort of multiple teams vying for a same objective? Although I guess that wouldn't really make sense narratively in Homefront because you've basically got two sides,
maybe
the
more
Koreans and the
Last of Us, where you get status updates that your friend just gnawed off the face of a raccoon or built a fence or got dysentery.
That was like the best Facebook integration that any game has ever had. But Aaron, the multiplayer is something that you and I enjoyed quite a bit in Homefront. And what was the defining thing there that really sort of separated it was you earn these battle points through your actions, and then there's like a pretty broad array of drones you can bring to bear.
Yeah, the drone warfare was quite good, and that's one of the things they actually showed here in the trailer was the guy driving the RC car bomb. All that stuff made it into multiplayer. There were aerial drones and ground drones, and it was cool because it extended your life in the game. Instead of just running in with your guns blazing, you could actually set up a good strategic move, send your drone in first, and have it mess things up. There also, the single player had some really large drones that were main characters in the game. But yeah, the drone aspect, I think that came from Frontline's Fuels of War. That's where the mechanics came from for that. Not only that, but they also had a lot of personality, which I like too.
The personality, so like the drones, or just in general?
In general, you've got that beat-up Revolution, so the drones had personality, and then I think the weapons, especially in this demo we saw, were a little bit more beat up, and you have a better sense of time and place of a battle as opposed to generic McSoldier dude.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the strengths of the Homefront series, right? Is setting the mood, setting a time and place, and certainly the trailer they showed at Gamescom with that little kid giving the like forced speech in propaganda speech in front of the assembled army generals and whatnot. It looks like they're going to be leaning even more into this setting. Mike, this is a tricky setting though because you're basically playing as a terrorist in your own country.
Yeah, because in the first game, being on the West Coast, it was kind of unsettling because you are rising up against these these governing forces that have since taken over. There's a plague that comes into play somewhere before the storyline of the first one, and obviously now they're going to the East Coast, which is exciting for me because that was always a cool setting to me. I think that's something The Last of Us also kind of satisfied, that futuristic, dystopian. In The Last of Us case, it was post-apocalyptic, but it's kind of cool to see the America we know in a different setting. And now that they're on the East Coast, I'm excited because it's my home turf. But it'll be cool to see how they handle that, especially because, like Aaron said, for multiplayer and single player, they were kind of going off Frontline, their work on Frontline, Fuel of War, and it'll be kind of cool to see how they iterate since the original game has kind of maybe not aged so well. I'm curious to see how they do with the sequel.
And what new, like, sort of gut-wrenching stunts they pull hiding in a mass grave. I don't think I've ever done that in any other video game except for Homefront. That's Homefront the Revolution coming out 2016, I think is the general time period. So we'll see how that shapes up in the coming months.